Hi, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, or it's morning. So, welcome to the Q&A session, the Commonwealth Q&A session for today. So, we have a few speakers who are joining today. So, I will just tell our names and our courses, and I'll start with my name. So my name is Chimwemwe Masano. I'm from the University of East Anglia. I was doing MA International Development. So I'll let everyone else, the speakers who are here, to introduce themselves and the courses they are doing, and then we'll now take your questions and everything that we have for you today. So Ejiro.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ejira, and I'm a PhD scholar at University of Leeds. I'm a researcher on women and transport in sub-Saharan Africa. So thank you for having me here today.
Yeah. And Kagwa, please. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Kangwan Konde. I'm from Zambia. I'm a PhD scholar at Newcastle University. I'm doing translational and research, clinical research, mostly dealing with breast cancer and imaging, cancer imaging. Thank you.
Queen.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Queen Chikwendo. I'm doing my MA Climate Risk and Society at Durham University.
Okay. So looking at here, we don't have any questions yet, but I think we have another one here. Yes, Charity, please.
Chart.
Yeah, Charity.
It seems her network is
Yeah.
fluctuating. We can hear you.
Hi, Charity. I think our network is
Yeah,
bad. Yeah.
yeah. I think you just go on here.
Okay. So we don't have questions yet. Let me see. We don't have any comments yet, but anyone who is live and who is watching us from anywhere else, you can drop your comments, your questions, and we'll be able to take them from there. So before we take on any other questions, I think if we have any other who has anything that they want to talk about on the Commonwealth itself, then we can just talk about anything before we have any comments or questions that are coming in from anyone else who has joined us. So, if Kwakagwa or Queen, do you have anything else that you can share?
Okay. What I want to share, what I would love to share is the response I've gotten so far from people, especially when I shared the line, the this thing graphics for this section.
Mm.
So some persons are like, oh, you have to answer a whole lot of essays and writings and all of that. So people are running away from, oh, there are, I think, up to 10 or 11 essays for you to write. Not
Mm.
just that, you apply through a nominating agency and all of that, back and forth. Then you apply to school, then and all of that. So what I would want to tell them now is, what kept me going during my time was, okay, by this time when I was making the application in December last year, I was telling myself that by September that I wouldn't even remember the pain anymore.
Mm.
So that was what helped me to keep going. So the sleepless night, researching, reading, and all of that. So that was what helped me to keep going. So, and that's what I would want to tell anyone who feels like the process is really tedious. I have to tell, it's mentally exhausting. It
Yeah.
shows on you, and you don't even know, it's a 50-50 kind of thing. So just put in the hard work. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Then I think I had I had an interaction yesterday with think one applicant. So I had the chance to go through the application. I gave them some feedback. It was a very good application, really. Gave them some feedback, and I think one thing I was really impressed with is how they took the feedback. Um, so they sent me back the changes, and I could see a very big difference between what was there before and what is there now. And looking at the time, it's a very short period of time. Others would have been like, I think it's too late. I really can't make any changes. I just want, So I was telling the person, like, if you have a chance for others if you have a chance for other people to go through your work and advise you, and you take what they're telling you in good spirit, that's a very good. It's a virtue actually, because many don't actually. Others, when then someone was saying like, I didn't know there are so many things. I thought after nomination, it's straight. Yeah, we just carry our bags next. It's going to the UK.
Yeah.
Like, so and they were saying like, it's just too many. I don't think I can do all this. And I think uh, Ejiro, somebody on our or from our cohort posted something about somebody get their nomination yesterday.
Nomination? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Nominated yesterday.
Wow.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's from an English. Yeah. What's the question?
The kind of, so I think from they were nominated from the university.
Yeah.
They didn't make any application whatsoever from the way the
I
person.
don't think.
Yeah. But I understand most nominations have happened actually during this week. Like government nominations have happened this week.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So it's usually just a very short time between the nomination time and the submission. And usually that's where the problem arises, because people don't know that there's a further application. Many think like, oh, we'll go and have a sit down somewhere, then we can do the.
Yeah. I think now this now boils down to, I think, checking the nominating agencies and their timelines, because some are quick and some may do the nominations like after the deadline for the Commonwealth.
Yes.
So whenever the call for applications is out, the best thing is to look at those also the deadlines for the nominating agencies. So we have Ola here. Ola, can you please introduce yourself before we have any questions coming in?
Can
Hi,
you hear me? Hi.
yes, we can hear you.
Sorry for let me see if I can switch on my camera, but if not, let me just introduce myself. I think along the line I'll switch on my camera. So my name is Ola. I'm a PhD Commonwealth scholar, 2019. I'm still trying to wrap up my PhD here in the UK, University of Nottingham. My research, I'm doing my PhD in sustainable energy technology. And I'm happy to mentor and to support and answer any questions that you may have. I think that's just a snapshot about me, just a little bit of that's all about me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola. So we
Thank
don't have
you.
questions yet from the audience.
Okay.
So right now what you're doing is just providing the tips, like the general tips that we remember from our applications, and what if we think it might be beneficial for the applicants that are applying now, and
Yeah.
because we know they are on the finishing end. So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of time, the essays and everything else that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe I can just chip in there. I mean, I had a short discussion with one of my mentees just now. I mean, that's why I was a bit late. He was sharing with me his proposal, his application. And one thing I would just want to say is that, because people are like, this that like the tail hen, give it to someone to help you review typo errors. Just pay attention to typo errors is really important. Sometimes you might not see these errors in your application, so we might just overlook it. And because the people that would be reviewing your applications are English people, they are very particular about typo errors, commas, full stops, and things like that. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. Another thing that I wanted to mention that could be like last minute stuff has to do with your recommendation. Like I remember when I wanted to submit my application, it was the person that was supposed to is it like the referee? I mean the referee. It was at the last minute. So don't take it for granted if it means you to call them to ensure that are they filling their own part of the form and all that, because if you have completed your form and the people that are referring you have not completed, it might actually affect your application, even if you have a very good application. So you can follow up on them to ensure that they have done their part. What else? I think that basically we've been discussing about the tips of the application, how you should ensure that you're using the right language, international development language, things like sustainability, things like impact development projects, some words you can check on Google. You make sure you use the right language, because Commonwealth scholarship is not just about your research, it's also about what are you bringing to the table in terms of promoting the sustainable development goals. And Commonwealth scholarship, they also have 5 teams that I think I fall into sustainable okay, don't let me goof now. I think I fall in science and technology team. And there are also other ones. There's the prosperity and several teams. I know there are 5 teams anyway, so I don't want to say what I'm not so sure about, but I know my team, science and technology team. So you make sure that make sure that you're using the right language. When you're doing an application, for example, you kind of have keywords. So try and make sure those keywords in the questions and also the general language that they use in the domain in your application, try and fit them in. I think that's one advice I would give in terms of trying to review your application. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
we have questions here. I think we might start tackling each one.
Do you mind if I just quickly say something?
Yeah.
I want to
Okay.
respond to Kangwa. So not all agencies have started nominating yet. So the nominating agency in Nigeria, the FSB, they haven't yet. They will do a call for it soon. So I just to be clear, not all. Some have, some haven't. So just know what your agency is doing and when. So that's all you need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we'll continue with this question also. It is also about the nominating agency. It's from Theo Matthias. Says, hello colleagues. I have a question concerning nominating agencies. Can they write a letter and incorporate in the application submission to Commonwealth? Yes. Who is taking that one? Anyone?
When you say can they write a letter, I think I can answer the question. I'm trying to to kind of make up for coming late. So after now, I'll just allow other people to speak, please. Yeah. I think if I understand your question, you mean that the nominating body should write to Commonwealth. Is that the question? If I understand, what I know is that the nominating bodies do not need to write to Commonwealth. The letters you need with your application are letters from your referees and from your referees, from your supervisor, potential supervisor, from the people you've worked with. I mean, you need an academic, I think 2 academic referees and 1 professional referee apart from your supervisor. The nominating bodies, they are going to be contacting Commonwealth based on I don't know if other people do interviews like FSB in Nigeria, but for us, we did interviews. It is the result of your interview that they would communicate with Commonwealth. You have no need to write any letter from them. All you need to do is they would nominate you. That's what I know, unless if the system has changed. Yeah.
To add on that one, it just depends on the nominating agencies' processes. But then when you're filling the Commonwealth application system itself, what you do is to just select the nominating agency. So whatever it is the nominating agencies do outside the application system is what you're going to find on their website or whatever it is they require for you to do outside the application itself. I think that's the question that this person had. Can we move on to another one?
Should
Or
I
do
come
we
in?
have, yeah, if you can come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the person was making reference to the nominating agency themselves
Hmm.
submitting a letter to CSC, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure about nominating agencies doing that. At least in my case, it wasn't needed. Like the previous speaker already said, we usually do interviews. But what I did differently, and I'm guessing others could also do that, is irrespective of who your nominating agency is, who your references are, or the supervisors are giving you supporting statements, you could do other things to strengthen your application. In my case, I belong to certain key organizations that were vital in the type of research I was doing. So I asked them to send a letter directly to the Federal Scholarship Board on my behalf, saying that they know me, I'm a member, I'm into this, I've been really strong in tobacco control advocacy, this. So it was not part of my references. It was not part of my supervisor supporting statement. It was just those organizations. For instance, maybe somebody belongs to the Nigerian Bar Association, for instance, or the Nigerian Medical Dental Medical Council or something. They could send a letter to the FSB or whoever is your nominating agency to say this person belongs with us. He or she is a potential leader. We strongly support their application. So that could work. I did that in my case.
Okay.
Do you mind if I just say something? Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
So I remember during my time when the FSB, for example, in my country, they give the list of what document they expect for you to bring for the interview. I had one of my colleagues, he said, yeah, this is what they expect from you, but bring everything that can sell you.
Hmm.
Any document you have makes you stand out. Even they don't ask to bring it. It's better they say, no, I don't want it than you not having it at all. Because I remember I met some people that wish they brought some document that they were not asking them and they had to go and come back the next day. So what I did for me, I had to like give them what they wanted, and I gave them all the ones I think is good, and they were actually impressed. They're like, "Oh, that's great." So whether your agency send the letter or not, if you have the letter with you, present it there. It's you're selling yourself. That
Hmm.
I'm good enough. This is what I have. This is what I've done.
Hmm.
It makes anything that can make you stand out from any other person. I think you
Yeah.
should present it.
Okay.
Yeah, another thing I would like to add there is regarding references, because oftentimes we just leave it for maybe our employers, our lecturers to do. So I usually feel that no one can really write about my work the way I want the person to. So what you can do to strengthen your recommendation letters can be writing some of the things you really want to see in your recommendation letter, then giving it to whomever you want to give it to. But because if you just leave it for them, they'll just use some words. She is
General statement.
she is brilliant. So not just stopping at she's brilliant. It has to be shown that how can you show that brilliance. So these are things that applicants should take care of. Don't just use general statements of I am smart, I am this, I am that. Show those things in action, or the things that you have done that shows that you are smart, you are brilliant, you are whatever. So these are things that can also help to strengthen your recommendation letters. Don't just leave it for those people to write and submit, and you will not know what they are sending, what they are submitting.
Hmm.
Queen, I
Yeah.
like you. I would like your name, Queen.
Yeah, it's essentially it's about signposting, telling them what you want each and every reference to highlight. If it's something to do with the professional, so you have to also
Mhm.
tell the professional referee to highlight your professional strength. It's if it's
Yeah.
about yeah, if it's about academic, tell the academic referee to at least also showcase your academic strength. So signpost each and every referee for them for what it is that they have to write. Otherwise, they're just saying, "Oh, she's hardworking."
They'll
What
just
is
go online
hardworking?
they'll just go online and download. They'll just go online and download and
Yeah,
download
yeah.
recommendation letters for you and
Mm-hmm.
a gift.
Yeah. Okay. So we have another one here from Alinafe from Malawi. Was wondering on the detailed research plan. Does the word count include the list of references or the citation only? So I think Kagwa, you can take this one.
Yes, I think so. Everything you have to put the citations, the references, and all those count towards the 750 words you need to put in. So make sure that as you are writing your detailed proposal, everything you put in should be within the 750 word count. So make sure don't try and minimize the number of references, because at the end of the day, it's a novel work you're trying to do. If you have, I think I should expect to see 5 at maximum references. I don't expect to see where you have the whole half of your work is references, you know,
Mm,
then you don't really. And remember that at the end of the day, even if it's a scientific document you're trying to produce, there will be most of the people who will be reading this will not be able to understand what you're actually telling them. So try to make it as clear as possible and not too detailed to the extent where somebody starts Googling. You know, people don't have time to Google. You know, I was talking to my supervisor. Is it last year? I think that's the first time he was nominated as a reader. So they usually get the professors around to read this stuff. So they have these are very busy people, and they get, imagine maybe if there are thousands of applications, someone gets 100 to read. So he doesn't have time to
More like
really,
scanning.
yeah. So what they're looking for are the key things, before they send them over to somebody else to who come and do this the other detailed reading. So it's like an editor for a journal, right? They will read, they will see, is it answering is the structure okay? Is the information we're looking for, is there at least basic information, is it there? Once it meets the bar, they push it on now to a reviewer who will go now deep, step by step. So the idea is that you need to have the person, you need to catch the attention of the person. So once they don't know what you're talking about and your story is not flowing, you lose them and they'll push it aside. Yeah,
yeah. Ola, you had something to add on that one?
she's itching.
Oh no, I was just like nodding. I was nodding at what you were saying, that it's actually true. I think that one thing I would just add is your proposal, do not make it boring. Let your passion show into it. Let it be clear, let it be concise, let the reader, because you would not be there to explain. Let the reader really understand what you want to do, how you want to do it, and the possible outcome of what of your research is about. Because I mean, if just try and put in your passion in it. I don't know, I know it's a scientific document, but there's a way you could also write it to make it know that you know what is going on in the domain, or you have an idea of what's going on in the domain. This is why my research is important. um so you need to include things like your objective. I mean, I'm not sure if we've talked about that. Your objective, your methodology, the kind of equipment you would need or you require for your experiment, if you're doing experiment or if you're doing field work, and what expected outcome that you want from the research. So, and I agree with what he said about reduce the number of references. That's not is not as important, but do not avoid plagiarism, because now that is one thing that it's a no. It's a no. Avoid plagiarism. If you're going to be using someone's work, please reference. Please,
Yeah.
please, please, and please reference the work. I think that's just what I wanted to add. Then I know that for the research plan, you always have to include your work plan. I don't know if so now the work plan is the duration. You have maybe you want to do a PhD of 3 years or 4 years, you have to have a concise plan of, they want to see if you actually have an idea of how you want to start and finish your PhD. Of course, this will change, but it has to be, like when they say that your work it has to have a duration. You can't do a research that it's not feasible in 3 years or it's not feasible in 4 years. So these are some of the things that they will look out for. So in terms of your work plan, have a good work plan. Your work plan for the first year, what are your outcomes? The second year, what are your outcomes? The third year, what are your outcomes? You can find samples of this of how to do a work plan online. That should also be part of your research proposal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember last time we also talked so much about the research plan, and then the question on the references and how you add them. Some people were mostly concerned on the word count itself, and I remember someone mentioning on how you reference in text. So you put like numbers, and then the references you can now put the actual names at the end. Then I think it reduces your word count. As I don't know how you call it, that kind of citing. So yeah, that's another thing that I also
Yeah, that's
also got. Yeah.
IEE.
Mm.
It's most common in physical sciences.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Mm.
So I think
Yeah,
that's one of,
Yeah, it's also common.
yeah.
there are some
Yeah.
questions on
Should I go?
From LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for people on LinkedIn, on Facebook, we can see your comments and your questions. So we are coming to you. And then let's see another question that we have right now is from Ferguson. Ferguson says, I received an offer from University of Exeter. My program has a mandatory MPhil to proceed to PhD, and on my proposal, the timeline indicated is 3 years. The confusion I have is on the length of study. And then it continues, I think the question continues say, what should I indicate in my application? Is it 3 years or 4 years? Okay.
Um, Okay, I think that there's a bit of confusion in his understanding. From what I know, in the UK, I'm assuming that most of the applicants are applying to the UK. So now
Yeah.
in the UK, there's a process. You have to first of all, I mean, when you get into the PhD study, you're not really going into PhD study. You're going into MPhil. After you have passed your first year viva, then you migrate to, they'll tell you if you're qualified enough to go into real research, which is the PhD. So maybe that's where your confusion is. For PhD, for the full duration of a PhD study. So that means, what I mean is, after your first year, you would be having an MPhil. If you pass your viva then you migrate from MPhil to a PhD study, which will continue to the next 2 to 3 years. So
Olamide,
in your
everybody
yes,
understand Fiverr.
Viva. Okay, Viva is like you're writing. Yes, yes.
Your
Okay,
defense.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I assumed, yeah. So what I mean by Viva is it's like I don't know if it's an exam. So it's an interview. So so like you,
It's
after
an
your
oral
first year,
exam.
you'll be writing a report. You'll be writing a report of the research exercise that you have carried out in your domain for over the first year. So like as in most universities, it's assumed that you are trying for the first year, you are reading what others have done, called literature review, what others have done. And by the end of your first year, you have an idea of the kind of experiment, the kind of methodology that you want to use. You would have identified the gap in your research area, which would be what you'll be focusing on. And that gap is actually what your PhD is about. So the MPhil is not really a novelty. It is when you've identified the novelty in your domain, and the professors say, okay, in during that your interview, which is called the viva, they say, okay, you are qualified to do a research. Then you move to the PhD proper. So
Okay.
generally the duration of PhD in UK is between 3 years and 4 years. So for you would have to find out from your university the course that you have chosen, is it a duration of 3 years or a duration of 4 years? Sometimes they give you, maybe if you have your admission, they tell you that this course is a course of 3 years, but you have 1 year writing period. So that means that the 1 year writing period, usually Commonwealth do not support. They don't support that, because you really don't even have to pay a school fees. I mean, you paid just a small token for your write-up period. But for some courses, they tell you that this PhD is for 4 years. So it depends on what is written on your admission letter, what criteria is in your specific course. Yeah, I hope I've answered that question in terms of the timeline. So if you're going to do your proposal, I advise that your timeline should be 3 years, the full duration of the PhD. Because if you only put for the MPhil, that means that you would only get sponsorship for that MPhil. That means your certificate that Commonwealth would assume that you want is just an MPhil certificate. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, when I read that question, my mind was like, okay, is this person applying for a master's scholarship, or is this person applying
Yeah.
for the PhD? So, but then the last part indicated that he wanted to have an idea of, is it for 3 years or is it for 4 years? I think then it boils down to going back to the website to say, how is the program structured according to the university? Are they indicating 4 years or are they indicating 3 years? I think that's it. Yeah.
If I can add
Um,
something as well.
Okay.
just
Yeah.
to add,
I think, yeah, you can go ahead.
should I go ahead? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Just to add, the both speakers are very correct. So it all depends on the admission, what's written on it. So if peradventure the school gets back to you and they say yes, the course is 4 years, then you would have to really, really make your case or your argument for CSC to sponsor a 4 year course for you very strong, because it said in I've read it in one of the supporting documents for guiding CSE applications that when you have very strong, unusual, they put it in quotes, unusual circumstances, they would support a 4 year PhD. But please try not to be the exception. If you have other schools that you've applied to and you're very sure you would get admission from them, and it says 3 years, please go with that. And just to make sure you put your best foot forward, because if it comes back and they say 4 years, you're already in a competitive scholarship application pool. You don't want to reduce your chances by going for a 4 year PhD. So please, even if that course is something you really, really, really are interested in, try and see something good in a 3 year course and just improve your chances of getting the scholarship.
Okay.
But just to add, so this is our opinion, okay? You can still do what you want to do. Just let's make that clear. We are not Commonwealth official, but just scholars. So this is our opinion, but it's still up to you to decide what you want to do.
Maybe I can just make it seem easier for you. I mean, we always think that if you have just the 3 year scholarship, then that means that for your fourth year you can get some kind of grant or some kind of sponsorship. When you get to the UK and you're really determined to find a way to fund the last year, it is actually still possible, because technically at that time, you're not being sponsored by Commonwealth for that period. But that is very, and they also have this what they call the 6 months write-up periods, maybe half stipend that they give to people, to scholars that are writing up. But that is not, it's not, how would I put it, it's not a cast in stone. It's a case by case basis. I mean, but I feel like when you get to that bridge, you cross it. The first thing is that you want to get the scholarship. So you need to put your best foot forward, as everyone has advised. Try not to be the odd one out, because it would make your case a bit more difficult to get in. But it's not like it's impossible. I mean, I think I've seen someone that has gotten a 4 year sponsorship from Commonwealth before, so that's fine too. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are specific doctoral programs in specific institutes which Commonwealth funds. which run for 4 years. So you have to be in those institutes for you to get the 4 year full. So you need to check, is your university one of those running those programs, which are official PhD doctoral. I think it's a UK government. What's this type? Yeah. So you need to check that as well.
Is it the doctoral training programs, the DTPs?
Yes.
Yeah, DTPs. Do they don't support DTPs, do they?
They don't support, but if you
I
get
feel.
an offer in one of those programs and you apply for Commonwealth will sponsor.
Oh, okay.
If you get, usually the DTPs are usually for, I think, EU and UK citizens for specific areas of
Yeah, in my university now, I just learned last month that they've extended it to international students. So I think international students now can also apply for the doctoral training programs, which is 4 years.
Okay. So, yeah, if there's nothing else to add on that one, we have Random Speech says, hi, great job you are doing. I'm watching from
Thank you.
Maputo, Mozambique. Love you guys. Thank
Love you
you.
too.
Love you too.
Yeah.
I've
I
never
also
been to
forgot there's
Mozambique.
something.
I wish I've
Kind
never
of.
been to Mozambique. I'm looking forward to travel around the world
Oh,
after
you've
I've
been there
completed my
now.
PhD.
No,
I've
you've
never
been
been
there.
there.
You've been there virtually because now somebody's watching you, so you've been there virtually.
No, we want the
One thing,
in-person one.
one thing I think I really miss because I really like to travel is the fact that of apart from conferences, I don't think I've traveled like I would really like to travel. So I'm really looking forward to completing my PhD and travel around the world. So guys, wish me luck.
For you, let me just
All the best.
Luck with that.
let me divert a bit, just 1 minute. So I got an email from, I was chatting with someone, and the person was like, have you been to Germany before? I'm like, yes. They said, for what? I said, conference. I thought as much. I'm like, seriously, so only conference. So, if you tell them like
Conference that take us to some of these
I
places.
was accidentally landed in Germany. I didn't know.
The life of a researcher, right?
So we went
It's always about research.
we went for a
Always
conference.
about
We took a walk
research.
in Switzerland. We took a walk. We didn't know that we'd actually crossed the border into Germany. So after going a bit, we see the language changes. The signs are different. With my colleague, like, are we still in Switzerland? You're in Germany.
Okay. Yeah, so we have Chikondi Saukira. I think he's from Malawi, this one. He's just following us. Hi, Chikondi.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. So we have another comment here from Caroline Mwita. I think this one must be from Zambia, yeah?
Yeah, it's from Zambia.
Yes, yes.
We are the Nigerians.
Okay, so
I'm sure they have submitted their applications.
yeah.
Yeah. Right, Ejiro.
yeah, which is a good thing because when I
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
I saw the
we're
number
very
of people-
proactive.
yeah, when I saw the
I'm
number
not
of
being
so when I saw the number of people, number of questions, and it's not much, or like then this is a good sign. Because if they have
Yes.
too much people, then something is wrong.
Yes.
And that they have done what they should do. So it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caroline here says, if I heard you, I think we wanted to write if I heard you guys, right? We
Yeah,
need
if I heard
two,
you.
yeah, you need 2 academic referees and 1 professional one. Is that for both the masters and the PhD? Also, the referees are free to fill a form. So yeah, so this is a question from Caroline. I don't know if we said anything about academic references, but I think there should be an outline or how Commonwealth would want us to submit the referees. So essentially, I think it depends. You need an academic referee or a professional referee. So I think from someone who had been out of school for some time, I think if it's 5 years or more out of school, they accept a professional referees and some kind of another one. I don't know if they accept a character referee, but I remember in my application for masters, I I did put professional referees, and I don't know if there was another one, of course, an academic referee. So if you can get one academic referee and two professional referees, they can also accept that one. As far as I know. I don't know if anyone can add
Yeah,
on that
we
one.
had this
No
question
question.
yesterday. I think
Mhm.
Charity dealt with it, so I'll give her the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. From the previous question, the person asked if they could use academic or
Mm.
professional referees, and the answer I gave the person was, feel free to be flexible because you are selling yourself, you are selling your skills, at least your potential skills and your potential expertise, and you that comes with the build of network you've had so far. So if that network is academic, use it. If that network is professional, use it. What they are looking for is the content of that reference letter that backs up what you've told them in your application. All we are saying is try and stick with the recommended guidelines in the CSC application. If they said at least one academic reference, try and get at least one academic reference. In my case, that's exactly what I did. I don't know if it has changed. But in my case, I had just one academic reference, and the other two were professional references for me. So that was my own case. So you shouldn't um, feel down or feel like you haven't met up to the standard if you're only able to provide one academic reference. It's still a very, very strong application. What matters is the content.
Content. Yeah.
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 So for me, what I used was one academic reference, one professional. Then I had my mentor give me one. So that was what I did. So
Mm.
I think, like Charity said, it's just about the content. It's not about having all the. I said that earlier. I mentioned that earlier too. So check in to be sure of the content of your reference recommendations. Let them align with what you are submitting to them. Let there be that alignment with everything. Let everything, the person that is talking about your academic prowess, let everything align to your story. The person that is talking about your professional goals or whatever your achievements, let everything align. Let there be coherence generally. So that's my own. And for okay, she asked if the referees are to fill a form. I don't know about that. We were given there's an email where they submitted
Yeah.
this thing, the recommendation letter. So I don't know if they are to
Um,
fill a form. Your referee.
I'm not
I,
sure, but I
I
think
think
there's
I
a
can.
slight change now. I'm not sure
Oh,
because
okay.
I've had this question from two persons now asking about uploading their references. So I think they may I'm not sure if anyone knows they can drop in the chat. But I think
And
there's
that
been a slight change and they can now upload they sort of get the references from the people and then upload directly
Yeah, I think
with
so.
the
Somebody mentioned that to
application.
me
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
this
Okay.
week too.
And that thing I
But
want to say is that people should read, please, before doing the application, the first thing you need to do is to read the guideline. That should be the first thing. Read and understand the guideline because if you don't understand the guideline, you end up making mistake and it will be the mess of all
Charity, why are
your
you laughing?
invest.
Why were you
Your
laughing from
investment.
yesterday?
I know that
No,
My Nigerian
I'm
folks,
laughing.
let's
I'm
read.
laughing because she's saying the truth. She said like read.
And that what we were saying yesterday. Read, read.
Yeah,
mm.
Read the
read.
guideline. A lot of
Read.
people don't read the guidelines. Read the guidelines first. So that one will give you a cue. It will direct you on what to do. How many reference are your references supposed to fill a form or something? Because things change. Some people here now that are the people speaking here now, maybe how they did their own application might not really be the same thing anymore. So you have to read the current guideline to know what is applicable at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
I think Queen is so
So
passionate.
yeah.
Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Please.
add on the uploading or an email. Last year when I was applying, I remember I said it in the last session that I applied for the Masters, Commonwealth Masters, Commonwealth Shared, and Commonwealth Distance. So
Okay.
what was happening was the guidelines
So
were
when they
changing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they were changing per scholarship. So in
Mm-hmm.
terms of Commonwealth Masters, we just had to put the details of the referees and their
Mm-hmm.
emails, and they were getting a direct link for them
Yeah,
to
for them
fill.
to upload. Yeah.
Yes, for them to upload or to just fill in the reference. When it came to Commonwealth Shared, we had to
Yes.
upload the three references as one document. So you had to merge the three references and upload them as one document. It was an instruction in the application system itself.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to the distance one, I don't remember. I don't remember. But the things were changing. So what I'm saying is, whenever you're applying, like just read what is it that is recommended. If they ask you to just fill in the names and their email addresses, please fill the email addresses and make sure they are correct so that they should get the email itself. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you miss out on their email addresses, then they will not get the link for them to fill it out. If they ask you to upload, ask your referees to give you the reference letters, and then if the application says merge them as one document, do just that. Merge all the three references as one document and you upload them. So just follow the instructions because these things change. Whatever will tell you what happened last year, it might not be the case this year. Or when it comes to shared, if you go for shared, then you'll be surprised to say, oh, now they are telling me to just fill in their emails. But last time I was uploading. So what is happening? So they change these things according to the scholarship itself. Yeah. I think that's it. And then we have another question here. It's coming in from Theo again. So Theo says, my other question is on the reasonable use of AI in the application process. For some question and essays have counter AI generation. I don't know. It's about AI and how we can use AI in the application. Kagwa, can you take this one? I think.
I was eyeing this question very much.
You are, you
Yeah.
are you serious?
Um, I had the chance to help supervise some students for my supervisor, under my supervisor. So we were looking at I think is it chat
Pity.
Mm.
were using it. You'd find that I do quite a lot of programming. So they would do quite a lot of, they will write their codes, they will tell ChatGPT to write the code, and they'll use the code, without, there are ways and means you can find out if it's done by ChatGPT. So they'll
Yes.
get surprised when you actually catch them to say,
Yeah.
this, you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, you need to cite and say, okay, this is my source. Um, so I had the chance last week. I think there was somebody presenting on how to use the ethical ways of using ChatGPT to, let's say, process clinical stuff. Writing codes that process images, even other stuff. So this borders also on this. I know there's quite a number of people who are even writing a full essay for this scholarships application using ChatGPT. They'll just come and give it all. They'll get the same question, plug it in, that it generates, and they'll put that, push it in the application, and there is, that whenever a software is developed, there are ways and means people can catch you when you're cheating. You need to be aware that AI is a tool. It's a very good tool. I would advise that if you need ideas, you can actually use even ChatGPT to give you ideas of what's happening, what are the trending things, and all that. It can bring in all those ideas. Then I would also recommend that once you are done with your essays, it's not a bad idea to push them through Grammarly so that it spots some of the mistakes you make. You remember that you've been looking at these works for maybe 3 4 weeks, and sometimes where you've been thinking that there's a there, but there's no there. But in your head, it's there. And when you read it in your head, it's you see they're there. But just when you push it in, it will pick out all those things. And sometimes even the other ways you can use AI is to read the work. You know, now Word allows you, you can read, you can have Word read to you what you've written, and you can spot a lot of mistakes. How is it sounding? Is it sounding okay? That's how you can use AI, right? The outright abuse of AI usually won't end very well. First of all, people can see that this is not really you who has written. There are ways, and I think the first things they do, I think somebody mentioned here about plagiarism. So you need to be aware that they are also looking for, they're checking for plagiarism. Because remember that people have been writing these essays for years. You're not the first one. So it's very easy to get, and you remember that I think most of us here in this platform have shared our applications with other people. And others just get the whole thing. They just change. If it's a topic, they just change the topic, they just change the name, whatsoever, and push it in. Right? So people do that, but I don't think they do progress much further. Yeah, it's easy, and it may seem like when you're doing that, you always tend sometimes to think like you won't be caught. You are the first one. You know, people haven't thought about that. But the idea is that learn how to use these tools in a smart way. Really, you won't survive if you do not. Where we're headed to, these are the tools which would differentiate certain ways of working, but you need to know how to use them, and you need to know how to use them ethically. So there are tools as well out there which counter the unethical use of AI. So when you abuse these things, the first thing they will do is put it in a plagiarism software to check for plagiarism. Doesn't pass that, that means that your application will put this side. And there's a percentage, of course, they look for. So if it goes above a certain percentage, they understand there are certain common words. If you talk about SDGs, everyone talks about SDGs. So even if you've just written one line, you'll find that you have 2% of your essay will be saying you have 2%. And the only part it says is that same part where you've said maybe strengthening, is it what did the theme, the Commonwealth themes, you've cited that one.
Strengthening people's resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And out as 2%. Now
Sustainable technologies.
imagine now.
Sustainable science and technology. Sustainable science and technology.
Yeah. So those are things you need to avoid. So I would encourage people to use AI, but use it responsibly, not abusing it. It will do a lot of things and even hasten your work. And what you present will be very, very good at the end of the day.
One of I can just add a bit about using AI responsibly. I would give examples so that because talking about using AI responsibly, you may be wondering, what do we mean by that? For example, I'll give you an example. Rather than asking the AI or ChatGPT, generate this essay for me, why don't you write the essay and ask ChatGPT, does this sound, how does this sound? What does this essay mean to someone reading it? Then it tells you if, okay, this is what this essay really means. Because sometimes you may be writing and you think the person reading can actually understand what you're writing. But for example, ChatGPT can tell you, can explain to you what your intent is. If it gives you like an answer that you feel like, okay, this is not what I really meant to portray in my essay, then it can help you to re-strategize on what you would write. But if you use, there are also other softwares that check for ChatGPT plagiarism, but I'm not even going to mention that here. I think we should just not talk about that. But we know, we in research, we know these softwares, we know how to identify, especially if you're teaching, you know how to identify if this is AI generated or not. So do not think that you can get away with it. Then another way that you can also, you talked about Grammarly. I also wanted to talk about referencing. Sorry that I'm diverting a bit. Now there are softwares which I think, mentioning these would actually help you with your referencing. There are free softwares like Mendeley
Yeah.
that can help you to reference. You would not stress yourself trying to reference manually. You can use EndNotes. I know EndNotes, if you're not in the university, you probably have to pay for it. But Mendeley is a free software for referencing. It gives you all the standard referencing styles that it will save you a lot of hassle. And if you can learn that even before you get into the university, the better for you. Before you get into your program, the better for you, because you'll be writing a lot of essays, and that would just help you to fast track, your learning process when you get your admission. So I just thought I should mention that in
Yeah.
terms of the ethical use of AI.
Yeah. Even
Yeah,
Zotero,
just
it's
to
free. It's free. You can use it.
Yeah, the tail is
yeah,
free too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
just to add to what Olamide also said about example of using ethically using AI. Um, from what we know, the Commonwealth scholarship application is linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think the updated report of usually the Sustainable Development Goals are tracked. I think the targets are about 168 or 169. I'm not sure now. So there's reports on the updates per country. So you would want to get your hand on that updated report. I think it was released July 2023. So if your application is connected to, say, SDG3, like mine, you would want to track what's the update on SDG3. So if, for instance, you're not really, you are seeing some statistics and some things you don't really understand, and you want to understand better, just copy that part, paste it in ChatGPT and ask, explain this clearly in simple
Mhm.
words to me.
Words.
That's an ethical use of AI that could also help you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, imagine every one of us puts in the question in Chat GPT and it generates the essay, and everyone
That-
takes that essay and submits automatically without even going through the hassle of finding out if it's AI or not. They'll just say, "Oh, this essay is coming in multiple times." So yeah, that's it. That's the easiest one. So yeah, it's been well explained on the AI issue. So now we have Izoma from this one is now from Nigeria too.
Oh, my sister has finally joined.
Yes.
So she says, "Hello colleagues, Izoma here joining from Nigeria. I have a question regarding what the theme business analytics will fall under. Is it science and technology for development or promoting global prosperity?" So I don't know about the business analytics per se, but if I might want to chip in, it would be like what I understand is if you're writing your essays, it also what is it that you're trying to address using the course that you're trying to study will also direct you on which theme your course might fall under. So someone else might use business analytics and then falling under science and technology. Another one use the same course, but then because of what they are trying to address after they finish their course will
And
be
it's
under promoting global prosperity. So I think it's just a matter of also understanding what is it you're trying to address that will lead you to the theme that you should fall under. So anyone else who wants to add on that, because I'm not in the business analytics field, can also add in. But I think that's the only way I would go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you answered the question really well. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add. It all depends on your specific research area. You can even be talking about technology and talking about the ethical use of technology. That would not really fall under science and technology per se. Because you'll be using ethical, you'll be using human subjects for your research. Meanwhile, it's under engineering. So like it all depends on your research, and that would actually help you. And I think it is possible, if I'm right, it's possible. I think usually in the application form they'll tell you you have three options. the first option is where do you think is most relevant to your research. Then you have the second option and the third option. It's okay if you mix it up. I don't think that's really it's going to be a problem. Because they're experts that will be reviewing your application, will actually fit you in anyway into the most relevant theme of that would fit into the CSC application. I don't think that if you mix it up, so far it's still within the domain. I don't think that should be so much of a problem. What would be a problem is they want to just know what you're talking about rather than you being so 100% accurate in terms of fitting it into their team. If you get what I mean. So I don't think you should be so bothered about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If I
true.
can come in, since Uzoma, you're doing something related to business analytics. So, like my two colleagues already said, what's the focus of your proposal? Are you using business analytics to solve an issue within science and technology? Are you using it to solve an issue within the health cadre? What is the direction of the research that you're using business analytics to solve? That will tell you exactly the direction to look at. And it's very, very important you pinpoint the first, at least even if your research is not focused on direct all your research is not focused on just one particular thing, it's important that the very first thing you pick is the central theme.
Yes.
The remaining two themes can be the supporting themes. So you need to be very, very central about that very first one. That very first one should be like maybe 60-70% of what your research is talking about, because whichever first theme you pick could likely.
Hi.
Oh, it's like we've
We've
lost
lost.
that there.
Yeah.
Our
I think it's
network.
To
reality.
the very first one is important. Just try, even if it's not 100%, at least 60% focus on that first thing is okay. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We have Theo also here. Says, I have an offer at Glasgow University, and as a requirement, they wanted me to pay a deposit on £4,000, which I did already. Can a deposit be required to be included in the submission? Yeah.
Um, as Ejiro had said before, I think that whatever it is that would it's I mean, even putting the invoice of your payment to your application would not guarantee if you would get if you'd get the scholarship or not. However, I would advise that whatever document you have that you think would as an more like as an
Supporting.
evidence that you have your admission, you should include it. I think that if you get the admission, then this would be an issue between the university and the scholarship board to sort out, because they are the ones that would pay your fees eventually, if that happened. I mean, if you get the scholarship. So I don't think you should be too worried about it. What I feel you should do is, if I were in your shoes, I mean, this is a very dicey question, but if I were in your shoes, I would include the invoice in my application. I don't know if anyone has a different opinion.
Whew, I think maybe just a few. It's a bit tricky because some
Yeah.
they do advise
No
not to actually make any.
payment.
Yeah.
So if you are applying as for Commonwealth or any other UK government scholarships, they would always tell you you need to mention that to the university.
Mm.
Then to say, oh, I'm applying for a scholarship, and once the scholarship gets, everything works out, I will inform you. Usually they don't advise you going ahead and making the deposit. I know some universities do ask that before you make any, they send you an offer you have to make. But usually when you tell them that you're applying for this, they will still, they do waive the requirements, but still, because they know that at the end of the day, you still come back. It's just an offer they have offered. They haven't given you the place as well. So it's a conditional offer. They'll give you a conditional offer.
Yeah.
But I mean, my worry is that he has already paid. So I know that, and that's why I said if I were in his shoes, I would include it. Although it's in the criteria that you should not pay it, but you have paid, because what will happen is if you get the admission and you did not, and they are not aware of this, and you're just bringing it up later, you may actually lose your award for not being
Yeah.
truthful, for not being open about the situation. So I mean, I just think that you've done it. My honest opinion would be include that in it, and see how it goes. Because if you get the award and they find out that you have paid already, because there's no how they will not find out that you have paid already, then it becomes a bit messy, that you didn't you
Mention.
withheld information that could have been useful. Yeah.
Mm.
Also, they
Um,
they always they are looking for, you need to show that you are not able to afford. That's why you're applying for the scholarship.
Yeah.
It becomes very tricky as well.
Yeah.
Already
Mm.
down, man, because the condition, the scholarships, what's this? Main goal is to help people who are not able to afford studying in the UK. So if you've already put down a deposit of £4,000 sorry, it's quite difficult, really. It's more.
Mm.
It's, but again, it's not something you should include it, because they will find out
They will
what.
find out. They will find out.
Yeah, because your university will tell them like, oh, there's this down payment and this. There's so many.
They will find out.
Mm.
Yeah.
The tricky one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else has something to say on this one before I move on to another question?
No.
Okay. So yeah, I think Uzoma here was just a continuation of the first question. So I think, but then she has another one here. Yeah, my question is around the reference. My professional referees are unable to have their reference later on the company's letterhead due to some company policies and restrictions. And there's a second, let's see if it's continuing.
She no.
Yeah. Okay, I think it stops there. I think she meant that there's a second one. I don't know. How do we help this person?
Okay. Can I say something there?
Yeah.
Okay. First, your professional references referee, I really don't see why they should withhold using the organizational letterhead, because you have worked with them. Sincerely, I really wonder why they will have such a policy. So because one of the benefits that you get from an organization working with them is in such situations, in such contexts, they are supposed to. Now, if the person cannot give you a general organizational, what is it called? General organizational letterhead. Maybe the person's office can have a letterhead. So, for instance, instead of using, let me cite an example. For instance, if it's an institution, instead of using the general institution's letterhead, an educational institution letterhead, you can use, if it's your lecturer, for instance, the lecturer can create his or her own letterhead and use it as to do your reference. So you must not really wait for the institution for your reference to be on the main institution letterhead. The position that the person is using in that capacity, the person can have a letterhead that the person can use to write your reference. Then another thing I want to say about another thing I want to add is that there are specifications, there are guidelines. For instance, during our time, they told us that the letter must be on an institution letterhead. So you can't send it without that without an institution letterhead. So that's also what you need to find out. If find out the guideline, still have to go back to the guideline to know if they can maybe not mind you just sending the letter there like that, but it's not formal. That's the thing, it's not really formal. So if your organization doesn't want to give you a letterhead, a formal letterhead that is bearing your full organization name, which I find it problematic, because this is an organization that you have given your services to. They should be able to do that for you. That's the only thing that's one of your gains, benefits from them. Then if they cannot do that, the person that you want, that person must be in some form of executive position or something like that. So the person can create a letterhead. Maybe if it's the accountant or something like that, the person can use maybe her own letterhead and give you a reference.
Anyone else wants to add on that one? No?
It's I don't know. I think now what I saw, or is it I had here? I think is that they're not putting in the emails for because I think before there was either you put in the institutional email, so the one who the email should be an institutional email, then they the detail, fill in a form, then if you are they're sending a formal reference letter, it should be on a headed,
Automatically, yeah.
on a headed letter,
Paper.
So I think the idea is not. I'm wondering really, because if somebody asked me to write a letter, and yeah, there are always these issues. There are all these politics in companies, but I think it's something you can navigate unless somebody just doesn't want to write the letter. Then they use that as an excuse, because there are always ways you can maneuver around. Companies and institutions always have those politics around, but you can, if somebody asks you, you can always find way to find a letterhead. Because some offices don't have letterheads, but you can always you go and see how you can make it, as long as you have what you're putting there is legitimate. And so it's, for me, what I see in this situation is where somebody has no reason. They can't tell you that they don't want to write you a reference letter.
Thing.
They find an excuse by saying, "Oh, my company, blah blah blah." Yeah, there are all these issues happening around, and usually they happen around when you're applying for scholarships like this. At the very end, somebody starts now changing goalposts. No, I can't do this, because usually sometimes people don't want to tell you upfront to say, "No, I can't do an application reference for you. Well, I'm not comfortable giving you a reference letter." And that's one of the challenges people have, because we also don't kind of come out straight, So instead of telling somebody and they go somewhere else, you're wasting their time by taking them in circles, which is quite sad. But when you hear such, you need to have a plan B.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That's really, it's exhausting. I understand. Sorry about that. So much sorry about that.
Yeah. And then we have Amos. I think maybe they were just tagging a friend here. Oh yeah. So Magdalene here says
Okay.
they are supposed to upload the references. So yeah.
That means
I
they've
think that
changed the criteria. Okay.
now this answers the question that we should upload them.
So if you're uploading,
Still
make sure.
confirm. Still confirm for yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
If you're uploading, you need to make sure that all the letters, the reference letters, have headed. They have a heading, a institutional heading. So make sure that everything is done and you combine them. Usually, it helps when you get to the references, you merge them together as a PDF.
Yeah,
You know,
I
then
remember we had a question in our last session. The
yeah.
person was asking that there is only one option of uploading one reference. So
Mhm.
I think the person missed out on this other part of saying you should combine the references. You have three, combine them to make one document and upload on that one space that they've given you. Yeah.
And
So.
because it's these small things sometimes which get people penalized. You find that
Mm-hmm.
they send certain documents. I have a colleague of mine who I think when finally was waiting for a response, he had a very powerful application. But telling no, you didn't send this, you didn't send this. I think it was just the same issue of he didn't combine the documents properly because he thought he had done it. So it's avoid those. Make sure you've read the instruction properly, and you've sent all the necessary documents they have requested from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have Angela here says, I already have one supporting statement with admission from one school, while with another admission for January in another school. But my supervisor has provided a support has not has
As
provided
provided.
has provided a supporting statement yet.
Is that a question
But
or something?
I think
I feel like it says she has an admission in one school, in another admission for January, which I think it might not be applicable for this, maybe
Oh,
because
it,
I don't know.
maybe she
I
look,
don't
did.
know.
Is it
look
master
down,
or PhD?
look down, look down. There's a
Yes.
continuation.
There's a continuation. Oh yes, it continues after another comment. Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Should I apply? Should I just apply with the first school and attach the admission letter from the second school without a supporting statement? Yeah.
Is it an MSc or PhD?
Now,
Let her comment.
yeah.
There's something about supervisor.
There's something about supervision here in the first comment. Let's see. The first comment says, I already have one supporting statement with admission from one school, while another admission for January in another school, but my supervisor has provided a supporting statement
Okay,
yet.
I think I get what she means. So
Uh-huh.
she has two admissions. One admission, the
Mm,
supervisor has a supporting statement. The second admission, the supervisor does not have a supporting statement. My
mm,
advice, upload the two admission. They'll probably consider the one that has the supporting statement because that's
yeah.
the criteria, especially if it's for, even if it's for masters. If it's for
Mm,
PhD, it's even more critical. If it's for masters, they would rather consider the one that you already have a contact with your supervisor, most likely.
mm,
But I mean, that's what would probably happen. But I would suggest that you upload the two admissions letters if
mm.
if that answers the question.
Yeah. I think she already has like a supporting statement from a school, which is good. So even if it's
Yes.
just one
Yeah.
and she happens to get the scholarship, she knows she already has a place, and then there's also a support from a supervisor and supporting statement. So I think she's good to
Yeah.
go, even if the
Yeah.
other one she doesn't have.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah, she
was
said it's
for
a PhD application. From what I
uh-huh.
just read now, is a PhD application. So
Oh
most
yes.
likely the first university which has a
Mm,
supporting statement from a supervisor already will be what would probably be considered. But I would advise upload the two admission letters.
yeah, 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 yeah. She said it at the end. It's a PhD submission. Okay, let's see the other one. Yeah, I didn't want to miss this one because the comments were, yeah. Greetings. Um, yeah, it's from Nigeria. Olu.
Thank you.
I'll just say Olu.
Olga,
Don't have
Ola.
Ola.
Very close to my name.
Yes. So I just finished my MSc program here in Nigeria, and I'm planning to start my application for the Commonwealth scholarship. Will you advise me to apply with my MSc certificate for a PhD position or BSc certificate for an MSc position? Hmm.
Mm,
What do you
okay.
mean?
First of all, I know that other people too might want to comment on this. PhD scholarship is very strict, and it's very because they'll be spending a lot of money on you. So that means that you need more things to show. For example, have you published? Um, for example, what did you graduate with your MSc? Is it a distinction? Have you done some voluntary like voluntary things, or have you held any position of leadership? Those things, have you gotten some awards? Those things are what would stand you out for a PhD application more. But if you don't have all that, it may be advisable for you to go for the MSc. The reason is because the stakes for the PhD will be higher. But I mean, we don't have all the answers to you. I don't have all the answers, but that's what I feel. So it depends on if you've another option for you is, since you just completed your MSc, if you've not yet published anything, you might want to wait to apply for a PhD or apply for the MSc now, and that would help you to be able to work towards, at least publishing something or doing some other extra things to be able to qualify. Or not like you don't qualify for the PhD application now, but the probability of getting it may be slim depending on the kind of people that apply for the PhD application. I don't know if anybody has any other thing to say about this, but that's just my own opinion.
For me, I think looking at this question, the timing is okay, but today is 14th, and this question is coming in on 14th and wants to apply for a PhD. And with what we've been discussing, having supporting statement from a supervisor and all of that, such kind of thing. Yes, miracles do happen, but I don't know.
Deadline is on the 17th.
Yeah.
No, but it's possible that he already has, it's possible that he has applied to some other scholarship before and already have some of these documents. So you just never know. That's why I said we don't have all the information.
Yeah.
But just have it at the back of your mind that PhD scholarship is not, it's not just the people that apply are people that probably have published a lot, are probably, so like your stakes are slimmer if you've not planned towards it properly. It takes a lot of planning. So not to discourage you because the time is short. If this was like 2 weeks or a month to the submission date, then I would say, go for it. But now if you've not applied and you don't have all these documents, then I would say go for the MSc. When you're doing your MSc, work towards, at least, even if it's publishing your dissertation, so that you would have, or at least attending a conference or doing something, and you work towards, it's like planning towards applying for the PhD scholarship.
Yeah. Okay.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Is it difficult?
Yeah, it reminds me of I think Edjo is not around here, right? But someone, I think, from Malawi who got nominated by their university yesterday. So they are looking for a supervisor, so I think to support their application. You can imagine. I think I was just wondering, like, this is 2 days. These guys sometimes don't even check their emails that often. And it's a whole process to really just get to a level where a supervisor becomes comfortable to say, yes, I'm going to support your application, Yeah. So I think, like others have said, it requires a lot of time really to get your PhD application through, because the requirements are quite broad. So you need to reach out to universities, not just reaching out, and usually you need to reach out to a supervisor, have some discussions with supervisor. He has to be comfortable. If you are coming in with your own proposal, he has to first see if that marries with what he's doing, because most supervisors here have their own projects they're working on, and they're not so keen on getting people with their own projects, because that means that that's double work for them. Then they may not necessarily gain that much. So it's
Hmm.
those are the dynamics which are, then again, if they have a project and you're interested in working in their project, they have to make sure that you are able to deliver in this project, because there are strict timelines. There are so many things they really consider, and if you're going to pick on somebody as a supervisor for a PhD, supervising somebody for a PhD, it's a roller coaster ride, so you don't want to get somebody who you tomorrow you start what's this you start wrangling the necks, in the middle of the night. It's not a decision which can just be made within a few days. There are a lot of steps these guys go through in getting you on board.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Moving on to the next one, we have Vera here. Greetings, everyone. I'm watching from Cameroon. Please, can I have? I wish to have the link for the webinar on the essays. I think I don't. We might paste we'll paste the link here. But also, if you're already on the YouTube, on the YouTube page, just search the previous webinars. You'll find them on the YouTube channel that you're watching, or even on the Facebook channel. You can also find the previous ones. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we have another one here. Lesego. If I'm currently unemployed, is it okay to write unemployed on my current employment portion and then fill in my past experience on employment 1, 2, 2, 3 part? Or the selection panel will think I'm not serious about strengthening the health systems and capacity of my country if I'm currently unemployed?
No, it has nothing to do with that. You have to see. I think we need to make this really clear. For
Hmm.
the Commonwealth Scholarship is a very prestigious scholarship. It one of the things they are looking out for is strength of character, your integrity, your honesty, and those things. So the it's better for you to just be honest, and that can be a selling point for you. Just because you're unemployed does not mean you don't have passion to give back to the community, does not mean that you don't have passion to continue your education. So it has nothing to do with that. It can actually even work to your advantage depending on how you write, write your personal statement, how you answer the questions and all that. It shows that if you're unemployed, for example, it means that obviously you cannot afford to continue, to further your study in the UK. And you can, as I said, you can make it, put it to your advantage if you show your passion and your passion in the subject area that you want to go on that course. I don't think that should be a barrier for you. I don't know if any other person thinks the same way, but this is what I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think someone, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
nailed
you
it.
can go in, Charity.
Should I go
Charity,
ahead?
yes, you can go ahead, Charity.
Yeah, Lisago, please go ahead and do your application. I'm
Hmm.
speaking to a bona fide unemployed person when she did her application. I didn't I didn't have a job when I did mine.
Oh,
So in my
oh.
in my in my field, my field is public health. So what happens is that if you don't have like a permanent job, most of the time what we get are contracts. So maybe for instance, you could have a job for 3 months, you're done with data collection, field work, your contract is over. And then another contract comes 6 months. That's it. If you're lucky, 1 year, 2 years. So that's how my work was going on. So at a certain point, I was jobless, and that was when I actually did my scholarship application. So I had time to do my application. So please, the time on your hands, use it to do your application, and I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Charity.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, the other questions were from Angela, the ones that we tackled. Let's see another one. Okay, yes. We have another one from Angela. It says, please, can a summary of the application be downloaded after one has already submitted? Yes, yes. After submission. Yes, I have a hand. Okay. Do I have a hand, someone? All right, all right. I thought I had a hand, someone who wanted to respond to that. But yes, you can. You get you get a notification to download the application after you have submitted. So
So they send
yes,
your email.
Yeah, they
yeah.
sent it to email too, I think.
Mm,
I think the
yeah.
hand you are seeing is Dr. Tim Han holding this cap.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I think Dr. Tim will answer the next question so that he can introduce himself and answer the question as well. I'm putting you on the spot. So
No, that's fine. That's okay. I've always been on the spot, so
yeah.
He has been doing your job since how many years? So he's used to it, don't worry, he's fine.
All right. So here we have a question from Maureen. It says, please scholars, my PhD study requires a routinely corrected data. My supervisor is of the opinion that UK data is more reliable than Nigerian data. What can I explorate to low medium countries, something like that? I don't know.
I'm very
Again, this
passionate about this. I'm very
that's very
passionate about
funny.
but
My
I'm
aunt,
casting my hands.
I know
Auntie
Ejiro is very
my
passionate
aunts are
about this.
all.
All of us here.
So let's start with Dr. Tim and then we'll go to Charity because I know Charity is itching to answer this one.
Thank you, thank you.
So,
uh, it's hi everyone. Hi, sorry for coming late. I was actually caught up somewhere. My name is Divine Tim. Medical doctor trained. I did a master's in public health, Liverpool John Moores University. That was 2020 2021 under the Commonwealth. So that's, in fact, during the COVID, we started the COVID period thingy. So currently in the UK. I work in the NHS in a cancer hospital here in Liverpool. Looking at this 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 question on screen, it's one of those tricky ones because it just shows how much these people probably think about us, because it's Nigeria, they feel UK data might be more reliable. Well, to be fair, they've got all these processes in place where they do all the databases, and the way data is collected is usually maybe it's straightforward, clear, everybody sees it and stuff like that. But you can always do your PhD with data from Africa, low and middle income countries, from your home country. I know a lot of people who were doing their research back in their home countries. They were traveling every now and then to go and get data, because if what you're studying, if you're focused on something in Nigeria, UK data will never ever represent the data you actively collect if you're in Nigeria. So it's just now for you to try to make them see why you have to use your own information, how your own information relates to what you want to do, because it's two different environment, two different societies, two different methods of doing things. So speak to your supervisor, let them know that yes, it's true that they might feel their data is more reliable, but it's not going to be representative of what you want to do. And it's really important that you do what, except you want to change and do something in Nigeria, because UK data will never reflect LMIC. It's just
Um,
not possible.
Um, thank you, Dr. Tim. I think that I know a lot of us are very passionate about this topic. First of all, I think almost everyone here would have faced this challenge one way or the other. There's just something about UK universities and UK supervisors that want to kind of change your
Yeah.
line of direction from your country of origin to UK. Now, I want to specifically say that the Commonwealth scholarship is for your own country.
Yeah.
So it defeats the purpose if you get swayed into, changing your focus from actually helping, because the thing is that the research that you're doing, the end goal is to develop your country. is to develop Nigeria. And I'm passionate because this has to do with my country, Nigeria, and we need all the data. If we keep using UK data, we're not going to have data in our country, and we're not going to be able to one day get, maybe in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, have researchers that say, oh, we have data. If we keep, getting swayed away from this, I know it might mean more hard work. It might mean you being a bit diplomatic with your supervisor because, of course, they have the final say. But I think one way you can go about it is to say that you are obligated to your scholarship board to deliver on your promise, which is one of the things that I told my supervisor. We now reached an agreement because initially I had focused only on Nigeria. And he said, "Oh, to get data is going to be a challenge." Then I broadened the scope to say, "Okay, I'm focusing on this on Earth climate, which still includes Nigeria." So we reached that compromise. But the data that I now used was actually a data from my country, but we just reached that compromise to say, okay, let's broaden the scope and be like it's Earth climate. But deep down, the data that I used is actually from my country. So I think that you might have to show a little bit of diplomacy with dealing with your supervisor, but please, please, and please, and please, do not try to use the data from your country, especially because it's Nigeria and I'm from Nigeria and we are promoting. We want Africa to have data, please. So that's what I would just
Thank
say
you.
about that. Yeah, it's a bit dicey. I know Ejiro has our own experience in this situation. I don't know if she wants to
Yeah, but let
say
my
something.
Yes.
madam Charity know
Yeah,
we are the
Charity.
small
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
PhD. Let her talk first.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Maureen, congratulations. This is a good problem, in my opinion, because yes, in my opinion, this is a good problem. In other words, you're already telling us that your research is going to be relevant. It's very clear. You don't need to search for relevance. It's clear. If that's already a research gap, if this data is already available in the UK and it's not available in Nigeria, there you go. It's a valid reason to do that research. We have various types of research gap: population research gap, methodological research gap. This is obviously population research gap, and it's good for you, it's good for your study. So that's a very strong point, like my colleagues have already highlighted. So another way that you could look at this issue and also present it to your supervisor diplomatically is to look at what type of data are you going for. If this data is not readily available, has another what we use criteria to say certain bodies or certain organizations are trustworthy, credible, and they can provide authentic information. It's sort of like a framework that is used to say this organization is authentic. For instance, you would agree with data coming from the World Health Organization, for instance. That sort of organization is deemed credible, authentic, and they can provide reliable data. So if the data you are looking for is not readily available, broaden your net. Is this data available from another organization that you can say is reliable and you can use? So that's another way to look at it. If it is not, then like Olamide already said, it's an obligation to go ahead and collect that data, because if you don't do it, you are leaving a gap for someone else who would likely be come into that research field. Instead of just going ahead to do the next work they are supposed to do, they go back to collect that data which you did not collect. So please, it's Nigeria, please collect the data. Thank you.
Collect.
I, yeah, it's quite
Oh,
interesting.
sorry.
But there's another aspect maybe we need to understand from this. It might be that there are genuine concern, and there are some times when there's really a problem in with the reliability of data. Not that the data is not available, but how the data has been collected. And I think most times is that when you're doing your PhD, you may not be adequately trained to really get that data without any close supervision. And you find that the supervisory team is not around to actually assure the reliability of the data you've collected. because you are in Nigeria or in Zambia or elsewhere in Africa, and it happens. And also, I think I've seen colleagues have challenges where they get on the ground, the way they were thinking they're going to get the data. Actually, when they get on the ground, they face a reality which is not what they've been reading in literature, is not what's on the ground in Africa, right? You've read in, no, seriously, these are the situation where you are
We
thinking,
understand,
okay,
yes.
this is what we're going to get when you get on the ground. And I think these fears usually supervisors have. It's because they have had such a situation where a student goes back, then they see that it's not as easy as I figured it out. Because even the supervisor doesn't know what's obtaining on the ground, you know. Then when you get, I'm doing a lot of clinical research. I think if I was to do the study from a center in my country, I think it would be quite maybe a few years back. Let's say at the beginning of my PhD, I wouldn't have been able to really do the study to that high level of reliability. Because I think now I know what is involved. I'm able to see, okay, this we can do. We need to do this. We need to do that. The levels of uh, uh, data protection, clinical issues related, and all these others. And I think some things, even the ethical aspects of handling clinical data, is very different from where we're coming from and here. And I think what they are looking for as well is, if we get this data, is it data which we can reliably present to people and they can make they can believe, they can understand that, okay, this is actually, it's done to the standard. And it also comes in with the reputations as well. People are worried about their reputation. So if there are any concerns, should somebody raise concerns, how was this data collected? There are a lot of cutting corners in many countries when it comes to certain types of research. There are a lot of cutting corners. There's a lot of people can, it's very easy when you're looking at it from a certain point of view, but these are real concerns. I think
So yeah,
to
so this
really,
is it. That's the data. It's about
that's
genetic healthcare data.
you see.
That's yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, I think you can advise now properly.
This is,
Is
yeah, so
yeah.
this already is, it's a very, very, the techniques
delicate.
themselves
Yeah.
needed to get this data. Do we have them in Nigeria? Do we have the technology, the expertise, who guarantee that the data which will be extracted in Nigeria will be very high, to that high level of But all these concerns can be overcome if you are able to sit down and note the challenges. If you note the challenge, okay, this is where we may have this challenge, then you look at, okay, what can we do? There are places within Africa where you can get this as well, right? You can find people who are doing it. It may just take a little bit of time. Yeah, but so the concerns the supervisor raises, remember that he's never been, most probably, to Nigeria, or he's never been to Africa, right? So it's genuine for them to have these concerns, and some of them are very real concerns. They're not just, So what needs to be done is she will need to have a very open discussion and bring down the concerns, right? And
And
then
now this is her
the
concern.
concerns.
If I might pop it in, he says, "Do you think using UK data will affect my chances of getting the scholarship? I have the supporting statements already." So
I
yeah,
was about to ask a question. Is she a scholar or she's an applicant? That was my question.
I
yeah.
Because
think she's a
we're not
She's,
going to
scholar.
say what she was.
she's
Mm.
applying. So there is it's, I think the idea is, you get the scholarship, you want to get, I don't think you need to start arguing so much on this front now. Like we've been saying, I think at the end of the day, get your foot ahead. These are issues you start arguing with your supervisor in your first year. You're ironing out all these. If you because I think they will close up and they will be like, I think I'll have problems working with you. But if you are open and say, okay, we can still discuss this issue, this item, after this whole process, and make an informed decision, because I don't think sometimes we haven't done a very thorough research of literature and even tried out some things. Because I think the first thing she would do is she will have to do a pilot study with the data in the UK. It will inform her of the actual challenges she might have should she get back to Nigeria. Because I think these are things maybe she hasn't done them yet practically. When you see how challenging it is to just get genetic data, even here in the UK, you will understand that it's not an easy task, even just for plants. I've got a friend of mine who's splicing gene for plants. How it's moving from institution to institution, and it's very expensive. The technology is very expensive, and these are it's a very dicey situation. But first, get the scholarship, then have this honest and genuine discussion with your supervisor after trying out the methodologies you want to try out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting that she has not got the scholarship. I think we all had an idea that she had started a PhD or something. I don't know. So that's why we're kind of a bit like, don't change it. Let's get our data.
Yeah.
But the truth is that since you've
Honestly.
not even started, the probability that the direction of your research might slightly change depending on so many criteria. I think you should just be very open-minded, just as the last speaker
Yeah.
said. Be very open-minded. Don't be so fixated on, I want to get data for genetic health care system in Nigeria. Your research direction might change, but the first thing is, it's nice that you already got the attention of the supervisor to say you found a gap, but so many other things may actually affect the direction of your research slightly. So just keep an open mind. The first thing is get the scholarship, and when you start meeting with your supervisor, when you get into the research, be open-minded, because it's not always cast in stone. I just thought I should say that.
But I want to say this. I don't know if this has been addressed because maybe I missed it, but I just want to ask two speakers now. So if the data she's going in UK, because to my understanding, Commonwealth scholarship should be development in low and middle income countries. So if you get this data in the UK, can she like redirect it to have impact in low middle income countries? Because that's the essence of the whole scholarship.
It depends on okay, I know someone who is a friend. She's finished her master's now. She initially started her master's and wanted to get data from Nigeria, but she couldn't. So she had to kind of more like extrapolate, got her data from UK, and now try to kind of use that same scenario to say this can be used in Nigeria in this aspect, and these are the limitations that you can, more like expanding on the limitations. So it's a bit dicey. It depends on how you the approach that you take to your research. So I do not think that it's outrightly cancelled out if you get your data in the UK. Although it's preferable for you to use the data of low income countries, but in some cases you might not be able to do that. You might use the data from UK, and I don't know. I mean, I don't really know so much about her research, but I know that was the direction she took. She kind of used the data from UK because she couldn't just use the data in Nigeria. It was like that was maybe because our program is short, is masters, but for PhD it might be slightly dicey. You might have to find a way around it. Yeah.
I think what should be important is how the development statement is constructed.
Yes.
Because if it's not
Yes.
focused in low in middle income country, then I think the purpose is already defeated.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think that should be
Yeah.
our worry.
I would give my example. My research, everything I'm doing is from here. So I'm not getting any data from home. Everything I'm working on is here. So we're recruiting patients from here and doing all the things we need from here. The issue is, are these technologies applicable to, because especially for health staff, especially if you're doing clinical stuff, it's applicable in most cases anywhere. So how do you frame your argument as well? I think that's where it comes in. How are you framing your argument? Of course, I wouldn't understand if you are you are doing something, let's say, to do with economics. You know, you're looking at economical issues, let's say in some parts of Africa. Then you use data from here. It's not transferable easily, you know. And the aspect, but when it comes to things like health, especially where you're dealing with actual clinical studies, they are reproducible. And I think what you start with is you can, it's not easy to do, even the infrastructure is not available most times in Africa. So you
Yeah.
would do something from here, build a concrete foundation for yourself, then you can go and reproduce it in Africa. It's much easier that way, you know. So what I'm developing, I cannot develop it based on in our scenario back home, but it's something which I can introduce there, you know, and and kind of scale it upwards. So that's the idea. So it's not necessarily to say like you're restricted, like all your
Yeah.
projects should be based on
Yeah.
problems that are home. They are global challenges, and if you can frame in your application, you can frame the problem, also localize it as well. I think that's what's important.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is a concern for Maureen. It's like my concern is getting the scholarship first. So I think what you're saying in terms of how she writes the statement itself will also matter in terms of how the Commonwealth will view the study if it benefits Nigeria, even though the data is from here. So I think Kagwa will be in a better post if she can come to you, maybe on one. She'll learn a little bit about you learn a little bit about it and advise accordingly. Yeah.
No problem.
I think it's something that she can do, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, just like you said, it's about the methodology because
Hmm.
what are you trying to achieve and where is the best place that you can get what you need to achieve that. And if it's something that she's discussed with the supervisor and it feels like maybe for this particular thing that you want to do, I would want us to use the data from here to develop this stuff, and then you could always maybe transfer it and try to see if this particular thing can be done here. It's just like any research out of the PhD itself. It's just one of those things where you have to look at the methods. What am I looking at? What information do I want exactly? How do I get that information? Is it something that I can easily get from here? Is it something that I can transfer? It's there is there's a project that I did. I started just before COVID came. There was a project that we're doing between comparing something about nutrition between the UK and Cameroon, for example, where we're looking at these uh, food labels, the labels are on food, how people perceive them here, and looking at how people perceive them back at home, looking at these two different cultural settings. At the end of the day, the method is the same. You're going to get different results, but it's a research project. If I take this same methodology and I do it in Asia and I do it in Africa and I do it somewhere, am I going to get reproduce this thing that you've done? So let her have that discussion with her supervisor, get the scholarship first. And trust me, so many people have gone in for these masters and PhDs, and then at the start, the focus of your project changes because if people look at everything and you're like, oh, this
Mm,
might probably not work. So
mm,
let's tweak it. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. It's just about that flexibility. If you can be flexible enough, you will see that even somewhere midway, you'll be like, oh, there's something in this methodology that I have to change. And it's just a continuous process where you keep recycling and recycling until you get that perfect thing that you eventually submit. So let her not worry about where her data is coming from at the moment. Let her just focus on getting the scholarship. Once she starts the studies, she'll realize that there is quite a lot of things that she can consider, and it would be very helpful for her.
yeah. Okay. So Kagwa, I think the person will come to your LinkedIn. You have a bit more discussion on that one. We have
No,
a few more questions. I think we can now tackle them. Maybe we are a bit running out of time now. So let's see the other question that we had because I skipped some questions so that I was looking at the bits and pieces that Maureen was giving us. So maybe, yeah. Let me check here. Other questions that we have. Yeah, we have this one. So yes, Omotayo says, is it advisable to add church or religious leadership experiences in the leadership or voluntary experience essays? Someone reviewed my essays and said it's not appropriate. Please advise.
Oh, but
Yes,
okay.
Charity.
I think Charity.
Yes, Charity.
Okay, can I come in, please?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, I would like to say Omotayo that it doesn't matter where you got the leadership experience. The fact that you gained that experience from a religious organization or a church organization is not a big deal at all. I think it became an issue for the person reading it, probably because of maybe the way you worded it, the way you framed it. It's all about framing. It's all about how you um, present that information on paper. Because I can assure you, if you are doing that, if you had that church-related leadership experience, for instance, please, in the Church of England, would you say it's an issue, right? But because it's a church A, B, C, D, E in one country somewhere, is why it's an issue? No, no, no. It's still a leadership experience. It's all about how you frame it and how you present what you impacted in that religious organization. For instance, for instance, please, you could have trained 7 young people, 12 young people on how to do ABC in their career. So these are things that other people may not have had access to do. And something you can raise up as well, because it's a religious ground, it's a church organization, and you have various demographic coming there. You could probably have young people, children, pregnant women. So these are people that in UK are categorized as vulnerable populations. You need a lot of safeguarding experience to be allowed to have access to those type of population. So you have a lot of grounds to play here. It's about how you present the information and how you frame it. So please don't discard your leadership experience in the church. Thank you.
Yeah. Ola?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Charity just she just like hit the nail on the head. It
Mm,
depends on how you frame it. You want to make sure that even as you're framing, you remove as much religious bias as much as possible from your statement, because the people that will be reading your essay would be probably people of different kinds of faith. So you have to be very objective and make sure talking about things like safeguarding, talking about things like vulnerable population, and just relating it to the subject matter. So it depends on, as Charity said, it depends on how you framed it. For example, in my application, I put in a leadership position that I held in church, but I talked about empowering youths and how how that affected the number of youths that we've trained and all. And I think that must have also kind of struck a chord, because at least right now I got the scholarship and I'm doing my PhD. So it all depends on how you frame the context of your leadership. Do not throw away any kind of um, thing that would make your application stand out. But please, please, and please remove any kind of bias from your
Yeah.
application as much as possible. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think we have a continuation to the question we had on references from Uzoma about there's an option for email upload. So what I did was to request my referees send me their references through their professional emails, which I compiled and uploaded on the application portal. Does this work? So yeah, this is what she has done, like in terms of the references not having the official letterhead. So she just asked them to send her the emails. So just created a PDF and then compiled them and sent. I would say it's good that she has sent something. If there's anything else that the Commonwealth would want from them, then they are going to upload it at some later date. Because I remember also uploading the references, but if you are picked, they also ask you to send the references again. So at that particular point in time, if you have the scholarship in hand, you do anything possible for them to produce a letterhead because they don't even have a choice. You have a case for them to say, okay, if you don't give me the letterhead, then I'm missing out on the scholarship that is already in my hands. So at least she has done something. If anyone else wants to add, you can. Yeah, add on that.
I'm very happy that Uzoma
Mm.
did what she did. One of the things I did in my case when I was trying to show that I had had conversation with a supervisor. I didn't have scholarship from that school yet, but I also wanted to show I'd had some interactions with them. So what I did was take screenshots of those conversations. So the screenshot showed the email of the person that sent me the email, obviously, as well. So those also helped. So in this case, you compiled showing the organizational email. Yeah, that's proof at least of what you have, even if it's not on letterhead. So fingers crossed and wishing you all the best.
Yeah. So I think that's the end of the questions that we have. But right now, I think I'm just going to ask each one of us if you have anything that you might want to add, anything that you felt you needed to talk to anyone else that is watching or listening to us at this point. So I think I'll start one person at a time to just talk about any pointers or anything that you felt they needed to ask, but they didn't ask anyway. So let's start with Charity.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Um, I, I, I think when we started, there was something I was going to say about the detailed research proposal. I think I should say it here now. Some persons, and when I'm saying some persons, I'm talking about my personal experience. Some
Mm,
persons may have that experience where you're in a research area where there's not really a lot of information. So you may be struggling to show impact in your detailed research proposal. So I will use mine as an example. What I did was use projected statistics. So XYZ said if this is not done, there will be over 2 million deaths per year because of this issue. So I used that to show impact in my case because like you said, it's a novel research area. Not a lot of data is available, and you are saying you want to do something in this area that would inform change. So use those projected statistics and say your research could impact this and reduce this. So that's one way to look at it. So I'm wishing everyone applying all the best. It's a great opportunity, but it is not the only opportunity. Please spread your net. There are several opportunities. As a matter of fact, I lost a lot of I didn't get a lot of common scholarships. So in the process of applying, I started learning how to frame questions, how to write better essays, and it helped me. The Commonwealth scholarship was the one I picked. There are others available. So spread your net and God bless all your efforts.
yeah. Divine team.
All right. I think the same thing that I tell everybody, even the ones that I do the one-on-one stuff with. Nobody can tell your story better than yourself, and do not sell yourself short. Don't be too modest or humble or whatever. If you've done something, sell it. Let them know that this is what I did. In fact, hype yourself. That's what I usually say. Don't say something that you do not do. But if you did something small, hype it. These people, they know how, they like to see those things, they like to read those things. And if you can hype yourself and tell your story that way, you have a very good chance. Just be consistent. As long as you're consistent, you're straight to the point, you can tell, you can try to convince somebody. Trust me, it puts you in a very good position and you get a very good chance. So anybody that is applying this year, I wish you the best. And like Charity said, there is so many opportunities out there. You just need to look and keep looking and apply to as many as you can, and you're eventually going to get something. Thank you and good luck to all of you.
Ola?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone that was able to attend the webinar or that's attended all the webinars. I mean, I feel like if I had this opportunity, it would be really golden. So I'm happy that God has given us the opportunity to give back and to, help other people to get to where we are. Maybe there's someone there who is like the odd one out. I remember when I was applying for my PhD, I didn't work in the university. I came from a consultancy point of view. Like some other person, Charity was unemployed, and so do not think that you have to be in the university to get picked. That is a myth. So just put in your best and put your best foot forward and hype yourself, as Tim said. Try to ensure that you've dotted all your T's. I mean, crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's. And just I just wish everyone all the best. I think one last thing that I wanted to just mention about the application is that before you submit, please just go through it one last time and make sure that you meet the deadline. Do not wait until the last minute before you submit. And even if you feel like, oh, I have not done my best, just submit anyway. Make sure that you submit before the deadline. It's more important for you to submit than to have a best application and not get it submitted at all. So wishing everyone all the best, and I hope to see you all maybe in the UK someday, or get information that you got the scholarship. I'm also open to help anyone that is willing to help. You can search for me on LinkedIn, Olamide Esho. You find me there. Just send me. I've responded to a lot of people. Send me a message. I'll respond to you and just be of help as much as possible. Thank you.
Yeah. Ed Kagwa, please.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that time of the year. So I think there's so Tuesday is a deadline. It's a very short time. You really need if you've already done everything, what I would advise is that have somebody go through your work, not somebody who knows what you're doing, somebody out of your area of expertise. They read through your work and get feedback from them. If they can get what you are saying, then you are home and done. And if they give you some feedback, try to see how you can incorporate it, because what you want is to have a very solid application. It's never too late to make the final bits that can go the extra mile. So basically, like everyone has said, there are a lot of other opportunities. Keep trying. Even if you don't get this one, you can try it next year, but there are also other opportunities. So this gives you also a chance to know how to frame your application and make your applications better. Otherwise, it was nice for people to join in and get to have a question and answer session with you. And of course, we are willing to, if you can reach out. I think I've shared my, is it Matilda?
Yes,
shared?
I've shared it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
You
shared it.
have some questions, you can send in something through my LinkedIn and we'll see how we can help you out. Thank you very much. And thank you, Matilda, for making this possible.
My
Thank
that
you.
is not yet here, but I think
Where is she?
she's out. She's out a little bit. So I'm the Matilda now behind the scenes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I think we should really thank Ejiro. I mean, I call her Ejiro. People call her Matilda. Ejiro Matilda, yeah, for creating this platform. I think she's really doing an amazing job. So Matilda, thank you, and thank you for all you do. Um, we just want to appreciate you. Maybe we can clap for her while we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you so much for all of the people that joined us
Thank
today.
you.
We'll end the live stream right now. Thank you so much, everyone who joined, and the minters who also came out. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a